Hello everyone. Welcome to Cloud World. My name is Santiago. So in this video we are going to be working once more with the AKS cluster, and this time we are going to be integrating the changes that we did on the ACR, the Azure Container Registry, with AKS. So we will be deploying an app. So in order to achieve this, we are going to be applying an update to the AKS cluster, which is going to attach the ACR to it. After that, we are going to make a couple of changes in our local environment using the terminal or the CLI or any tool that you are using, PowerShell, in order to connect to the AKS cluster with the kubectl tools. Later, we are going to be updating the deployment that we did on the last video in order to deploy our new changes into the AKS cluster. But in this case, instead of using an image locally, we are going to be using the image from the ACR, and that one will be deployed as part of the deployment into AKS. We will explore quickly the deployment, check into the pods, describe the pods as well. And once we complete this exploration part, we will be deleting the deployment from the AKS cluster. So the first step that we need to complete in order to achieve our goal, it will be to updating the AKS cluster. So in this case, once more, we will be leveraging the AC tooling, and we are going to be interacting with the AKS object using the update operation. Once more, we need to provide the resource name group and also the name of the AKS cluster, which is stored in this particular variable. We need to also send the command attach ACR as part of the request, and we will need to give the name of the ACR that we would like to attach to our AKS cluster. So before doing that, in case you don't remember the name of your ACR, you have a couple of options to get it back. So the easiest one, we will go to the Azure portal and retrieve the name from the ACR listing in there. But in case you want to work more in the console as I do, you can take leverage of the ACR list parameter in this case, and you can select the login server in order to list all the login servers that are available for you as part of the ACR. So as you can see, as part of the output, we have one of the ACRs that I have available in my Azure portal. So this is actually the one that we are going to be using. So going back into the AKS update command on the variable ACR, we have stored exactly the same name. So we are going to execute this one. This might take a couple of minutes to set up the changes in your AKS cluster, because this is going to set up a couple of roles in the AKS cluster and also in the Azure portal in order to use internally managed identities to be able to exchange communication with the ACR. So we will be right back when this part of the process finish. Okay, now after a few minutes, the changes will be done. Your AKS cluster is actually ready to use the ACR. So let's follow for the next piece. So if you follow the previous video, we have been working with Docker locally, which is actually just for testing, and the Docker tools also provide us with a Kubernetes cluster locally. But in this case, since we are working with the AKS, in Azure, we need to update our credentials in order to be able to access the proper cluster. So for that, we are going to be using the AKS get credentials once more. We need to provide the name of the AKS cluster that we would like to log in, and also the resource group which stores the AKS cluster. It is important to take into consideration that the account that you are using in here in the AC tooling needs to have access to the AKS cluster in order to negotiate this credential and being able to connect to it. This will take a few seconds, so everything is good to go. So now if you execute anything with the kubectl, it will be executed against the AKS cluster on the Azure side. So now for the second piece, we are going to be modifying the deployment that we did also in the last video. In this case, we are going to make a couple of adjustments for it. So now that we are on the YAML file, we will make a quick reminder of what we have in here. So we have a basic deployment set up using the YAML structure for a Kubernetes application. We provide some name for the deployment, some metadata for the deployment as well. And we provide some specs for the pods that we are going to be executing. In this case, we are requesting 2 pods. We are going to be selecting the pods that match this particular criteria. And for the template, we have a definition for containers, which is going to be the name of the container, which is going to be Cloud World Console app. And in this case, we are going to be changing the image. In this case, this is the structure that we need to follow. So on the ACR, we need to provide the name of the ACR that we have in here, and also the name of the image that we would like to use in here. So if you remember on the previous videos, we worked directly on the on the ACR in order to pull some images and work on them. So if we go back to the ACR, we will find the image in here, which is already being stored and ready to be used. So this is exactly the same image that we are going to be using on the deployment in order to change our application and deploy it into the AKS cluster. So let's go back into the terminal for a moment and let's apply our YAML. So make sure that you are on the right folder right now. So as you can see, we have the deployment.yaml also set up in here. So we are going to be using, as always, the kubectl. We are going to provide the file name, and in this case, we are going to be providing the deployment. So after a few seconds, we will see that the deployment has been created successfully. So we can once more use the kubectl get pods, for example, in order to get the pods. So as you can see, as requested, we have 2 pods running on the ACR, but the most important things that I would like you to show you in here, if we use the kubectl describe pod and we provide one of the pods name, is the description that we have in here. So let's go into the important piece, and that's actually the image that is actually being used in here. So as you can see, the image that is being used in this application is actually the one from the ACR, and this is actually just automatically pulling the image. The AKS is actually pulling the image from the ACR to use it as part of the deployment. If we go back inside the pods once more and we explore, for example, the logs on these ones, we will get the usual information that we got from the previous one. We have a message saying something to the application, in this case, so service created, and we just set up a couple of console in here. So this is pretty simple. So now let's go and delete this deployment because we don't need it anymore. We can provide the name of the deployment manually, or we can also provide the file. In this case, any of these options is actually valid. Okay, so in today's video, we learned how to set up the AKS cluster, how to attach an ACR to it, how to deploy a basic application using an image that already exists into the ACR. So follow me on the next video when we are going to stop once more with the ACR and the AKS, and we are going to be working with Azure Service Bus. So thank you, and see you in the next video.